Welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits, coming to you from the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California. Hey, everyone. This is Liza, and I'm still here.
Unbelievable.
I am still here.
Where would you be, darling?
Oh, but I left again in the middle of the week.
Well, no, I know you left again, but you didn't go far. I mean, you didn't leave the country.
I went to New Mexico. It's practically another country. What?
Just like Mexico.
I'm saying nothing. But you are sporting a delightful piece of New Mexico jewelry.
I did buy some jewelry.
As you should.
So, joining me today in the studio, of course, the dulcet tones of Miss Emma.
Aloha, darlings. It's simply smashing to be here.
You were smashing some stuff out today in the garage.
Well, I was doing my best.
Yeah, diddling.
Diddling.
It's the best way she fixes things. When you know if she sticks her finger up in there, it's going to be all right.
Yeah, she made me bleed.
Yes, I did. I did.
Joining us for the first time is Sparky.
Hello.
Hello, Sparky. And I know you've got a story to tell, and we're going to get to that a little later in the show, so don't be nervous, darling.
Okay, I'll try.
And in Jim's seat, because Jim isn't here, filling in those shoes plus some, it's Craigzilla.
I got a lot of work to do to fill these gym seats.
If I could,
hello, all.
Hello, Craig. If I could make a comment, darling, you have got quite hairy legs. It's like looking at a chimpanzee.
Why, thank you. Why, thank you.
No, you are quite. You're definitely. I think the correct term is hirsute.
Well, that's a perfect intro to one of my favorite misfits, only because he's practically hairless. It's Bagel.
Yeah, I am. Why, thank you. I think.
Yeah, I like a man with smooth skin.
I always thought of you as being a weirdie with a beardie. I don't know where Liza gets it.
I am.
Smoothie. Yes, you are.
I do have. I'm rather hirsute myself.
Right, but it's the
It's
same
just very
color
light.
as your skin, so you can't
It's
tell.
Right, it's very light colored.
blends,
It's
it blends.
camouflaged.
And it's camouflaged quite well.
Yes.
So, we've got a really special guest calling in.
We do
soon.
indeed.
So I got to keep an eye on the clock. But until then, we can talk about what we did in the garage today.
Lots, in fact.
Yeah, well, Sparky, you got to experience it, and this is something I love about the garage. You first time there, and you got there early enough. There's just a couple of us sitting around. And this is usually first timers. They show up and they're like, I know you didn't say it, but it's like, this is it, right?
No. I've seen
but
pictures.
it's like, it's
But-
just a crappy little garage and a
But
Costco
finding
tent.
it was hard because you're kind of in a weird alley, and Google
Yeah,
Maps
like
was
that.
just like turn here. What?
And it's just a couple of us just puttering around, and then there's a moment where it kind of explodes, and just all these people show up, and all these people need things and help, and you're being dragged in every direction. And did you get to help people work on stuff today? Usually you get dragged
Everybody's
in helping everyone.
A little bit.
And then Emma shows up to kind of calm down the craziness about that time, but brings her own level of crazy.
I bring the drama.
No, you actually, it's a relief when you show up, because there's usually like about 6 people asking for where something is and how to fix something. And you jumped right into the guy with the quad that may have seen better days.
Ah, poor little quad. Always tricky. The common denominator amongst quads is they all have had very, very hard lives. Every single one. I have never come across a quad that's had an easy life. Ever.
He was asking me, what I knew about the quads and if I could help him. I said, here's what I know. I hate them. I've never ridden one. I've never worked on one. But anytime I see one on the trails at Hollister, Craig, we're like, fucking quad.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
Right?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Show me the single track where the quads do not fit.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that I hate a quad so much. It's the people who choose to ride the quads are usually like, let's put the kid on it who just swerves all across the lane, or the just the guys who you just don't trust them. They will always turn in front of you.
They fuck up the mud too on our beautiful trails. Sometimes.
Hey, Liza, do you know what my first motor vehicle was?
No.
A 1985 Suzuki LT230 GE quad.
And that's a very interesting vehicle because it was one of the first quads with independent rear suspension.
Yes.
And as a utility vehicle, they're great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Getting around the farm or whatever. I just don't like them at the dirt bike part.
Right.
Well, and from a repair standpoint, it's a very, very hard sell for me and a lot of other smaller bike shops because they just occupy so much real estate.
Well,
once you get one quad in, that's 4 bikes that you can't get in.
And that's why he came here, because he called to every shop in town.
And everyone said no.
And everyone said no.
Maybe in the winter.
Even the little, single mechanic shops like Emma's, nope. So he showed up to me like, yeah, can you help me fix it? I'm like, oh, the wrenches are over there. Help yourself. Yeah. But you were very nice and gave him a lot of time. And
well, and I hate saying no, especially down here, because, we offer a free service, but there's only so much we can do. And obviously when a quad gets to a certain age, information about testing components, especially testing electrical components, gets a little thin on the ground. So we have to do a little bit of guessing. But I'm absolutely convinced that quad has got CDI problems. And bearing that in mind, I mean, Kawasaki was like $600 for a CDI for it. However, you can buy a CDI and a coil and a sparkling plug from Temu for like $21. Okay. So I said, why don't you buy one of those? Why don't you buy one of those? Because at this stage, you've really got nothing to lose.
Emma, you hypocrite.
I know, isn't it awful?
You chastise me when I do
hang on. Okay, this is how I'm going to justify it, and you can slice it and dice it any way you want. You go to Temu first. At least I went to Kawasaki first no.
I would like to defend myself.
That's the difference.
I go to Temu first when I'm working on a $500 bike.
Yeah, there you go.
And you start using the cheapest parts you can find and upgrade if you need. But that's why I go to the cheapest.
And, for this quad, I mean, it was obviously a very low dollar purchase for him. I think he paid $200 or $300. Spending $700 on a CDI, which may or may not cure the problem, does not make any sense whatsoever. So buy the Temu one, do a bit of diagnosing, and, maybe we'll get lucky with it.
Yeah.
So, Emma, just because I want to rub it in a little bit, here's just a quick, short email for you to read.
Okay, I'm going to read it.
You can read who it came from and then the message. Very, very short. Who's it from?
Oh, it's from Phil the Bank Union. Emma, for fuck's sake, it's Anglesey. I know. I thought that's what I said.
That was where I went to that car show in Wales, right?
Anglesey.
And I'm like, how do you pronounce this? Well, apparently he said you mispronounce it. So
oh dear,
he
so
spelled
sorry.
it out phonetically.
Yeah, it's an island in Wales, and a very famous island. I should know better. I'm sorry, Phil. I've been here a long time. Fuck me.
And I got that little NX250 sellable.
It looks clean.
Sellable.
Clean.
I don't know if you've heard, Craig, my levels for a bike. So the first step is you want to get something just running.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is rideable. That means you've got working brakes, transmission, and engine. Like you can ride it down the street just to check stuff.
Okay.
And then you start refining it, get the suspension a bit better.
Safe is when everything is.
There's a lot of play with step 3.
Safe is all the things that really should be working are actually working. And then, I guess no, I have it at safe. I don't really have it at sellable, but I'm going to sell it. Sellable is everything's tits. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I mean, I think safe is fine.
So, but it's, I pulled the suspension, the front suspension on that thing was, so
sacked out.
I'm going to call it soggy.
I can only imagine what the fork oil looked like.
It was, black.
And the smell.
Do you know why fork oil smells so bad?
Yes,
Made
it's made
from fishes.
fish.
Yes, it's got fish parts in it because it's nice and slippery. You want slippery. You don't want stiction.
A slippery eel fork oil.
Yes. So you want the slipperiest, fishy fork oil, which is why it always smells so bad. So it smells like rotten fish because it is rotten fish.
Come clean, Emma. Have you ever tasted it?
No, but I actually have tasted surströmming.
Ooh.
And so surströmming is rotten fish in a can. And it was by far...
Is it Finland? Is that where it's from?
I think
Sweden.
Norway?
No, I think it's from Scandinavia.
Yeah, Sweden, I think.
But it is the worst smelling shit you've ever smelled.
Reminds me
There's a
of
whole
the
video series of people
fermented
gagging.
Greenland shark that I had in Iceland.
That's what that is. It's
Oh,
food.
yeah, no, because in Greenland, they get the shark and then they bury it for like...
That's what they do in Iceland. Yeah,
3 years.
Yeah.
6 months is in Iceland, I think.
Yeah. And then you've got to prove your manhood by eating it.
It was intense. It was intense.
Did you eat it?
I did. I tried it.
I couldn't even get near the surströmming. I mean, they opened the can
Mm-hmm.
and I was assaulted by the smell and I thought, I'm going to... Because I had a bit of a cold at the time, so I thought, I can get through this.
You
And I
had an
couldn't.
advantage.
I couldn't. I couldn't face it. I really couldn't.
So I'm going to bring it back to motorcycles. So I pulled the front shocks off because they was just so like
Soggy.
soggy, and
Soggy
there was
fish.
I was like, I'm going to throw some washers in there, some spacers to.
So when you took the caps off, did it smell of fish?
No, but yeah, it was black oil. But what came pouring out were 17 fender washers
Nice!
In the forks?
in each side.
Oh, my God.
What?
So they'd already compressed the forks even more, spaced them out. So I figured, well, time to add some more. So I added 10 more to the stack.
What a good substitute for that is cheap sockets make a great spacer.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the old Schedule 40 water pipe.
Yeah.
PVC tubing.
Yeah, just good old PVC tubing that you can get down at the, down at the hardware store.
So yeah, I put in 10 more washers, put it all together. It's rideable. I mean,
is your front end still soggy or is it a little firmer?
it's a little soft. It really does need new springs, but I can't find them on Temu.
Well, get the Schedule 40 water pipe. It's a good substitute.
I almost put the old CB750 springs in there, but they were really stiff.
But I tell you what, there's something about mid-80s Honda fork springs that, there was this kind of methodology that soft is good. And a lot of the bikes back then were just so woefully sprung in the front. And I don't know what it is. It's just a period in time.
Well, 1989 technology. It's amazing how old it feels. I mean, it's a fun bike. I'm enjoying I'm going to pop around on it a little bit before I sell it. But if you talk about old bikes, can you imagine, like, in 89 racing, the bikes then, like, what we ride now feels so different. Like a spaceship, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine riding something back in the early 1900s?
No.
No?
I can't even imagine. No, I mean, because I've ridden bikes from the 1920s, but I can't imagine riding one fast.
I can't imagine. But you know what? We have somebody coming on our show who's going to talk about the people who did ride bikes fast.
Well, they must be uncommonly old.
And I'm going to say, putting their lives on the line. Well, let's get to who our guest is tonight. So this is really cool. I'm so excited. Calling in all the way from England in the middle of the night, we have Sarah B. Williams. Do you go by Sarah B? Sarah Williams? What do you go by?
Yes, Sarah Williams.
Sarah Williams. Sarah
Hi.
H, because she's posh.
So, well, we've already briefly talked about this because I was very, very excited because I'm a Brummie through and through, and I saw that Sarah's from Wolverhampton, and I was like, all right, Bab, and she's very posh because you went to drama school, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that might have knocked some of my accent out of me, but yeah, there's video footage somewhere from home movies where there is clearly a Wolverhampton accent that And it's funny because I went to drama school and then I couldn't then imitate my hometown accent. I don't know what happened. It wouldn't come back.
Well, you are making an enormous sacrifice. I'm not going to lie. You're not the first guest who's been on our show in real time in England. But it's the middle of the bloody night, isn't it? What time is it for you?
It is 2:00 in the morning, just after 2.
Well, that's because she reached out to us with a story that.
Oh, it's a story, all right.
Fascinating. So first I wanted to thank you for coming on. And I wanted to just touch real quickly on the email you sent us because I don't remember this. You had said, hey guys, in episode 401, so we're at like 630 something now, right? So that was a while ago. You made a lovely reference to my great-grandfather Cyril Williams, who pushed his AJS over the finish line of victory at the 1920 TT. How did you know that we mentioned him?
It's kind of one of those things about when you search something, if you look in podcasts and, some people have picked up on the story and it's there on the internet. And I've been working on it for about 10 years, writing a screenplay about his life. And I found it. I've been researching it for about 10 years. And and that's how I found your podcast. I did some kind of search and it came up that Emma had done a little potted history of the Isle of Man TT and talked about my great-granddad.
And I was going to say, I don't remember that specific incident, but it's exactly the kind of stuff that I'd waffle on about. But to be fair, and I don't want you to, I know you won't undersell your great-grandfather, but it's very, very glib to say, he pushed it across the finish line. He broke down 4 miles from the finish line.
Oh,
and it was mostly downhill, but mostly it's not all downhill. So basically the last 4 miles, he pushed that bike.
Yes. Wow. And the other thing, I mean, I don't really know where to even start in the story, but the story that I covered when I wrote a screenplay, and we're now looking to make documentary about it, is how he'd raced the Isle of Man TT in 1913 and he'd broken down. And then in 1914, he came second and was just desperate to win and was kind of like, right, next year I'm going to win. Then, of course, war broke out. And, we can maybe talk about that a little bit more. But just jumping back to the 1920 TT, he'd been back from the war for a number of years, but he'd been gassed while he was out there. So his lung capacity was not what it was. And so, pushing that bike over the finish line was a huge, showed huge mental fortitude, but also, he physically wasn't quite the younger man that he had been before. So he crossed the line and collapsed. And his AJS team came to scoop him up. And,
no, it's not a flat course. I've ridden the course. I mean, it's long. And it is ups and downs and lots,
I mean, it shows enormous fortitude. And I think we should point out 1920, because of course 1913 and 1914 are well documented. Then the Great War came along. And I would like to talk about that because he took part in that. And 1920 was the first TT after the Great War. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 did not exist. The first actual TT race after 1914 was 1920. And he won it. He won the junior.
I wonder, that to be an Isle of Man racer, you have to have some screws loose. You know what I mean? It's a special breed. How do you say that politely? I mean, it is a special breed. And I wonder even back then if it took the same.
Well, I like to think, Sarah, that we don't refer to our people as being nutty. The great British eccentric. I feel your great-grandfather was one of the great British eccentrics of the 1920s.
Well, you've dug up a lot of pictures. Can you tell from the pictures how big his balls were?
I wouldn't like to speculate.
But I do want to get to the story. So I mean, I really don't know where to start. I think let's start with your contribution, and then we can flesh it out with a story of your great-grandfather. Because at some stage, obviously, there was this family history.
Exactly.
And then you got involved with drama, and obviously you thought, no, look, this is going to make a great story. So can you kind of tell us how you went from talking about great-grandpa at the family table to actually putting together this, what is it, a film, a documentary?
Well, yeah, I have written a screenplay, and that screenplay got optioned, and as is the case with the film industry, there've been various moments where it was going to be made, and we do have a director, the wonderful Francis Annan, and just at various points it was like, we've got our lead actor, and then his schedule changed, and then we sort of got financing, and then that didn't quite happen. So we're still hoping that the feature film will be made, but in the meantime, myself and the team have said, let's do a documentary.
All right, I just need to ask. You don't need to say who you cast, but I would like to know if you could afford any actor.
Oh, yes, there's the question.
Who would be your dream cast? No budget.
Oh gosh. Well, it's funny. I mean, you sort of saying, no budget, but actually, I'm not sure that it's sort of necessarily sort of the most famous people that I've sometimes come across and thought they would be great. Somebody who bears a resemblance to my great-grandfather is Josh O'Connor, who played King Charles in The Crown. But an actor whom I absolutely love is Cosmo Jarvis, who was in Shogun. Yeah,
and he's in that new war movie.
He's indeed.
I saw it.
Yeah.
What's it called?
I have no idea, but I know he's in it.
Yes. Anyway, yes, I know who you're talking about.
But yeah, it's the intensity, because you're coming back to that sort of great British eccentric, or having a screw loose, or there is something about that breed where there is an intensity, and from the accounts that I've read of Cyril, my great grandfather, there was this great intensity to him. I mean, to race the TT and then to do what he did in the war. So I've always imagined whomever the actor is that is playing him would be intense, would have that thing in his eyes where you just sort of think, oh my goodness, whatever he says he's going to do, he's going to do it.
Yes, and he's very dashing with the cigarette in his mouth, and that the kind of the I don't give a fuck look, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, and I mean, it was of the time. So was this something that you always felt that this was a story that needed telling? Or did you kind of come to the I'm guessing you're far too young to have ever met him.
I am too young to have met him. However, I do remember his wife, my great grandma. She was alive for the first 8 years of my life.
Okay.
And she didn't talk about him lots, but anytime that we would bring him up, she'd go, "Oh, Cyril, he was always off on his bike. One minute he'd be having dinner, and then he was off to Nevin." So yeah, I think when he came back from the war, especially, he kind of struggled with sitting still, and was always off. But yeah, I mean, to your question about how it all came about, I did grow up with this huge picture of him over the mantelpiece, and it was just sort of a given. When you're a kid, you don't really ask questions or think about the pictures around your house of the old people gone by, and but it kind of stuck with me. I was aware that there was this trophy in the cabinet, and but it was much later. I think I probably would have been maybe 15, 16 years old, and somebody called Stephen Mills, S.J. Mills, wrote a book all about the history of AJS. And my dad was contacted and asked if he had photographs, etc. And I was given a copy of this book for my 15th or 16th birthday. And I was like, oh my goodness, somebody's written about my great granddad. So I read that, and then I kind of got a bit obsessed with it. And then flash forward 15 years, I did a master's degree in screenwriting. I knew I wanted to write stories, and I just couldn't get away from the fact that there was this picture of the AJS team, I think, that I sent through to you, of the 4 racers, and then the Stevens brothers behind. And I thought, I think I need to know more. And that was it. I just went into the history of the TT and then what these racers did in World War One. And I was like, what? Why didn't I learn about this in school? So then it just became this mission. It turns out I've got some of my great granddad's tenacity, and I was just like, right, I have to tell this story no matter what.
Yeah, this is what I'm fascinated with. When I was just reading, you have a Kickstarter going for making this movie, and a very simple description. Can I read that?
Oh, please.
I love it.
Do.
A documentary about the Isle of Man TT racers who became World War I dispatch riders and their bravery, which bordered on madness. Like, I was in when I read that. I'm like, yes.
Right. So we've gotten to the stage of you've got this story that you need to tell. And you've started with a picture and the family stories told around the family table. So tell us a little bit more about Cyril. And this is where the floor is yours. We want to know about this guy.
Me too. I wish I could have met him indeed. But he, from what I have read from all of my research, he was a very quiet, sort of fairly introverted person, unless you started talking about engineering and motorbikes, and then he would hold court. He became friends with the Stevens brothers, who had built the AJS motorcycle company in Wolverhampton. And at the center of that was Harry Stevens, who seemed kind of like the genius of it, incredibly gifted, also introverted, also very geeky on the subject of motorbike. And it seemed like Cyril and Harry had this friendship and this bond over motorbike. And Cyril wanted to race. He had a need for speed. And so Harry and his brothers built these bikes, but Cyril would be in the workshop with them, sometimes overnight, just perfecting these bikes and getting them ready to go to the TT. And there was a very young apprentice as well called Eric Williams, no relation, who is also a TT winner. He beat Cyril, much to Cyril's annoyance, in 1914 as the young upstart apprentice. I think he was probably rather annoyed by that. And so, they built these extraordinary bikes, and I think the first time that AJS raced was 1911, but Cyril was there for 1913 and 1914, and they just kind of, I think, came from nowhere and just did extraordinarily well, and it just really put AJS on the map.
And this was the crucible for the company as well, because AJS really only got their start in 1910. I mean, the company was founded in 09, but they weren't making bikes till 10, and then they didn't compete until 11. So this is an incredibly young company, and so he's hugely pivotal. You can't talk about the history of AJS without talking about the history of Cyril, can you?
No, I don't think so. I'm biased, but yeah, he was certainly somebody who I imagine, and certainly the way I've told it in the screenplay, is that there was this friendship, and the two of them kind of fueled each other's fire, because they were so passionate about it, disappearing off into the garage just overnight, trying to perfect this bike. And even things like getting the seat right. And I'm pretty sure that Harry had kind of got this, managed to get an extra gear. And it's all in this wonderful book. But, they were really just like changing things and being pioneers and looking at, how to get the bike faster and make the rider more comfortable, just thinking about everything in ways that I don't think it had been thought about before. So, you can certainly talk about it in terms of their engineering ability as well. But coupled with that, what struck me on a sort of human level, and here's where I think the story is so universal, is the determination. So much determination.
And, these are the best stories, because this is a motorcycle podcast, and give or take, we talk about motorcycles when we're not talking about soggy front ends and God knows what. But it's the human element. When you bring in the human element into any story, and it becomes a story about people, or it becomes a story about a single person, that's what really brings it home. So Cyril's riding in the 1913 TT. Let's move forward to that. And he doesn't do very well. He breaks down.
That's right. Yeah. I think that might have been an engine failure on that one.
But with any pioneering machine, you're going to get that.
Teething problems, indeed,
right.
Yes.
And then 1914, how did he do then, aside from getting beaten by a child?
Oh, I know. I know. I mean, well, he came second. But yeah, it's funny because, you know, I would certainly say in terms of my family that the sort of winning, the desire to win has kind of come through. My dad and my brother race have raced cars together, doing hill climbing at Shelsley Walsh, and you know, sometimes they would sort of like psych each other up because they're both the same build, and they would sometimes share a car. And my brother would have this what I used to think was this dreadful saying of second place is first loser, you know. And the more that I learned about Cyril, I thought, oh my goodness, this has been passed down. And even though I myself have never raced or you know, kind of gotten involved in motorsport in that way, as somebody who went into the arts, into the creative world, I've realized that I've got that fire. I'm like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
I think your determination has manifested itself in a slightly different direction, but it's no less fierce. It's just a different determination.
So my friends do sort of say that about me. I'm extremely determined. But yeah, I think the other sort of the other interesting sort of human side of this here, and again, not something that I would have experienced because I haven't, you know, really done any racing myself, but just that love of getting on the bike and going out there. You know, I've spoken to so many racers or just motorcycle enthusiasts who talk about that thrill of going out on the road and how wonderful that is and how good it is for your mental health. I would say that. And when, you know, I sort of think about Cyril having had these experiences in World War One, and getting through them with his friends, and because of this shared love of the motorbike, and then coming back, you know, undoubtedly traumatized by what they'd experienced.
Well, before we go any further, I'm sorry, Liza, can we talk about this World War One?
Yeah, I wanted to say, because the Isle of Man race is known as a deadly race. It is dangerous. This is not the most dangerous thing your great-grandfather did, is it?
And if I may give a little bit of background, so World War One, it wasn't called that. It was called the Great War. It was called the War to End All Wars.
Yeah, we established you were on a schooner, right?
Right, yeah. And, you know, if you want to very glibly use the term glamour, World War Two seems to get all the glamour. And we don't talk enough about World War One. And this was trench warfare. This were troops slugging it out in the mud. Often the lines moved by inches. And it was just a brutal, muddy, bloody war. And it lasted 4 years. It was 4 years of hell. So what did your great-grandfather, what was his involvement in that?
Well, there was an advert posted in Motorcycle magazine calling for motorcycle racers, essentially, to be dispatch riders, which, if anybody doesn't know, was a job where you were essentially messengers. And, you know, there have been these references to the dispatch riders being sort of glorified postmen. And this came out of the fact that they were immediately given the rank of corporal because, you know, they were given sensitive information and, you know, had to take it all over the place. But it's so reductive to say that they were postmen, because the job involved traveling, as you say, through the mud, through trenches, to get these messages over, and they were on their bikes. But of course, if the enemy saw a messenger coming, they would want to shoot them because they'd know that they had crucial information. And so they were essentially the lines of communication. But anytime they went anywhere, they would come under fire from snipers. You know, they were a literal moving target. And so, you know, an extraordinary amount of bravery was required to go and put yourself on a bike but to know that you had to deliver the message. And and often that message wasn't even a piece of paper or anything. They had to memorize it. So you had to have that sharp mind as well. But they realized that often it would be better to travel at night so that they wouldn't be seen. But of course, that meant having your lights off. So they were racing in the dark, not the kind of roads that we have now. And the thing that Motorcycle Magazine had requested was that these dispatch riders not only own a bike, because at first, it wasn't like they were dishing out bikes to whomever wanted to be a dispatch rider. They needed people who had them. So these guys, took their AJSs or whatever bikes they had and went over with them. So they had to repair them as well. They needed people that not only could race, who were fearless, who great memories. But if they fell into a ditch or they got shot at or the bikes broke, they had to fix them, because sometimes it meant the difference between, saving thousands of lives and losing thousands of lives, whether they got that message through or not.
And the conditions, we're not just talking about muddy roads. Oh yeah, it's just a muddy road. You're talking about barbed wire. You're talking about debris from various mechanical machines, whether they're tanks, whether they're armored vehicles, whether they're guns, just littering the road. And if you're riding at 70 miles an hour at night with no lights on, and you just ride straight into the side of a wrecked armored vehicle, it'd be fatal. Yeah, it's incredible. The fact that he and others survived is extraordinary in these conditions.
And can I just say, how brilliant to find motorbike racers who already have the fastest bikes in the world, right? And the skill to ride them, and also, as we said, either a loose screw or giant balls. I mean. But also racers are the ones who know how to maintain and tune their bikes. So if you're talking about who's going to do, imagine today if you send out like Marc Marquez to the front line on a GP bike. Can you imagine?
You wouldn't be sending the Marc Marquezes though, would you? You'd be sending the dirt bike guys.
Yeah. Cody Webb.
You'd send Cody Webb out there. But I'm guessing he probably signed up pretty early in the war, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and it was kind of a real moment of finding a bit of historical gold when I got in touch with the great grandson of Eric Williams as well, the young upstart apprentice from AJS who won in 1914, because even though I had sort of depicted this rivalry between the two of them in the screenplay that I had written. Their war numbers were one apart, so they signed up together. And Richard Williams, Eric's great grandson, also was able to tell me through the letters that he still had from Eric during the war that he and Cyril would actually meet up together. They would meet up, even though these men were moving across France and Belgium all the time. They would see each other. They may have been part of the same. Grouping, forgive me not using the right word there, but and we do know that they were also both at the Battle of Neuve Chapelle and were given medals. They were both mentioned in dispatches and awarded for bravery. So yeah, absolutely extraordinary things that they would do.
And you say he suffered from gassing, so mustard gas was extensively used in the Great War.
Yeah, beginning of chemical warfare.
It was the beginning of chemical warfare, and diminished lung capacity was, as serious as it is, one of the most enduring images of the Great War that I have seen is all the soldiers basically walking like a centipede because they've been blinded by mustard gas being let out. So in a lot of ways, if he escaped with diminished lung capacity, he did. I'm not going to say he did all right, but it could have been considerably worse had he lost his sight. I mean, I should have that would have just been devastating for a racer.
Yeah, and I also think that that the determination that he had to get back to the TT, the determination to be racing, the love of bikes. I imagine at least that would have helped him to just sort of conquer all, as it were. Because when I think about the physical difficulties with that, and it was long term. Cyril didn't have the longest life. He passed away in 1939. But he had a much longer life than he should have in some ways. And I have certainly imagined that a big thing was that he wanted to win the Isle of Man TT, and that kept him going. He was like, I don't care what happens to me. I don't care if I've got minimal lung capacity. I don't care if the doctor says to me, you shouldn't race. That was his, raison d'etre.
Fantastic.
And I know from my great grandmother, I think that by the time she became pregnant with my granddad, which I think was 1921, that she basically kind of sort of said to Cyril, right, we're going to have a baby. Have you got it out of your system yet?
And had he?
Well, he didn't do much racing after that, but
right.
He certainly snuck in a few more events at places like Goodwood. But I think much like it is today for bikers, the Isle of Man TT is like, that's the thing, in the entertainment industry. It's like, that's winning the Oscar.
Right. And I mean, we've had this conversation many, many times here in the studio, and people you will go around the room. Who is the greatest motorcycle racer of all time? What is the greatest race of all time? And to me, it's always the TT, because it's so unique. There is just nothing like it. And I think if you win at the TT, and especially if you win consistently at the TT, like the Dunlops, you truly are the greatest motorcycle. The McGuinnesses, the Dunlops, these are the greatest motorcycle racers of all time. They really are. And I mean, that might have been the future that, had he not had diminished lung capacity, that may have been the future that was waiting for Cyril, to be a multiple winner. But nevertheless, he won in 1920. Now,
he did, yeah.
I have a question. Did Eric make it as well out of the war?
Yes, yeah, he did. And I find that remarkable, given that they were some of the first to sign up. By the time there were some dispatch riders coming in later, they weren't necessarily racers. They were probably 16-year-old kids. So I this is why I do think it is, in addition to everything, an extraordinary story, because they took part in so much of the war. I mean, Eric was writing articles for Motorcycle magazine from his hospital bed in France in 1917, and he still went back out. Extraordinary, but they were incredibly brave. And Eric also had injuries. In fact, when he came back for the 1920 TT, he was still struggling with burns that he had incurred in the war. And so he had all of this sort of balm and bandage that he was wrapping around his hands because it was so painful to grip the to sort of hold on. So they both had so much going against them, but such is the determination to get back on the bike and do it. And when I consider like we mentioned, the traumas that they must have experienced, how horrific it would have been, I can't help but imagine that they could have been out there in the worst horrors, and the way that they got through it was to say, well, yeah, but we'll be back at the TT soon, won't we? Who's going to win? I'm going to beat you.
Wow. I'm curious because I never really thought of countries getting motorbike racers to be, dispatched. Was it just England doing this? Do you know if there were other countries? Do you know how many people, how many racers, like how many of them were doing this?
I know that there were others, but I'm not a real authority on that. I don't know. Emma, did you want to say something?
So I mean, it's common practice that in the early stages of any conflict, you reach out to the population and you take people who shine at a certain thing. Mm-hmm. It's natural that if you use an example, one of the greatest aviators in the Second World War on the American side was Doolittle. who led the Tokyo raid. Well,
The doctor?
No, he talked to animals. But Doolittle was an air racer in the 1930s, and very, very famous air racer. So, of course, the U.S. Army Air Force wanted Doolittle to fly for them because he was a very accomplished aviator and had a name. So it's normal practice. You reach out to people who, look, this is going to be the best person for the job because they already know the job. And clearly Cyril knew how to ride a motorcycle fast. So hence he got the job.
Yeah, like I'm just curious if this is just a small group, a small troop of men, or if this was a larger scale. But it makes sense to me because really, like most of the military, the plan is to use slow, heavy vehicles that are heavily armored. And in this case, let's just get exposed men on little nimble bikes that can just flee faster than anyone can shoot.
And remember the time. This may have been far more widespread than you can imagine, because this is the infancy of radio, or reliable radio, should I say. By the Second World War, radio, you could communicate quite effectively, and you could communicate stealthily, because you'd come up with codes, and radio was sophisticated enough that you could transmit in code, and if you were able to decipher the code, then you got the message. Not so much in World War One. I mean, you had telegraph, but it's
well, it's the beginning of modern warfare.
It was, but dispatch riders were absolutely the keystone of moving information around from the front line back to HQ. Because you remember, there's the foot soldiers and the people who actually did the dirty work were at the front line. Meanwhile, all the majors and generals are sitting drinking tea miles away, and you have to get information backwards and forwards. So I think it was far more widespread than you probably think. And I'm sure that the German troops did exactly the same thing in 1914. They reached out to notable racers. And said, look, we're going to need dispatch riders. And
because we all know by World War II what they were using instead.
Was?
Jeeps.
Yeah, well, among many other things.
But going back to your great-grandfather, Cyril, did you hear about any other like injuries he sustained besides his lungs? Is this like one of those, they get shot, patch them up, send them back out there, Yeah,
I think so. Well, I can only imagine that there were further injuries given the frequency with which they were shot at by snipers. So, I certainly know that there were plenty of dispatch riders who would incur a number of injuries. And of course, the bike as well, if they sort of shot the petrol tank, and there was just so many ways in which it could go wrong. But coming back to the point about communication, there's a wonderful book which has been really helpful to me in my research by a man called Michael Carragher, which is all about dispatch riders. And I really don't know why there aren't more books about dispatch riders, given that Michael argues about how vital they were to the communication. Because the limited communication lines that were available were so easily destroyed. And so, what one story that I had come across was how the German army were advancing towards an area where there were thousands of British soldiers there, and communication had been completely cut off. There was no way of warning this group, this British group, that the enemy were advancing. And it came down to one dispatch rider who had this message, and it was kind of like, this one person on one motorbike had to get that message over. And this isn't a story of Cyril, but it wasn't recorded in history, that this message got through, and then they were able to escape. And another story, and this really shows the bravery and the kind of bordering on madness. That there was a tale of one dispatch rider who had delivered his message, and because they were moving around so much, they sort of knew where everyone was. They sort of had the map of everything in their mind. and they were aware that when they delivered a message, they crossed a bridge back over towards the Brits, and sort of thought, hold on a minute, this bridge allows the enemy to cross over and advance on our people. How can we get rid of this bridge? So they then got this dispatch rider, I think there might have been a couple of them, then got explosives and blew up the bridge in order to prevent the pathway for the enemy. And I mean, that's just like one of many amazing stories where there were things that they were doing that they didn't have to do that were also dangerous because they were smart, intelligent, inventive. It's remarkable. So hence my passion for just telling people about these extraordinary dispatch riders.
Amazing stories, amazing, and just all the more poignant because this is a member of your family, and having the information to tell the story and have it being part of your own flesh and blood, it makes it all the more special. I mean, it's clearly a story that needs to be told.
Yes, we hope so. And it's been interesting, and hopefully this is sort of a good thing. But obviously, you might have heard that there's been this announcement about Brad Pitt and Channing Tatum doing this TT docu-series, and that there will be a feature film. Now, my understanding is that it's much more about the modern day telling. But, we've been working to try and get this feature film made and also the documentary alongside it for about 10 years. And we've just sort of been pushing and being like, come on, people, this is such a great story. Let's get it made. So I think, there's perhaps going to be a little bit more attention on things. But yes, we as a team are not quite Brad Pitt in size. We are the underdogs. But this is more of an origin story, I think, of TT and certainly a lesser told story of World War One. But yeah, we were always going to be making the documentary, but it was going to be alongside the movie. So the plan was that myself and a team were going to sort of do some behind the scenes footage when we were due to shoot the movie. And that's when we got Charlie Borman on board to sort of help with that documentary. And then the film, didn't quite happen and is still going to happen, hopefully, if we can get all of the jigsaw pieces together. But this is where we just said, well, let's maybe not wait. Let's see if we can just raise some funds, which is why we've sort of launched this Kickstarter campaign and also been talking to some hopefully private investors to get it made, because we sort of thought, well, let's just tell people this extraordinary story, and then hopefully that will also open the doors for us to make the feature film, and just let people know about this, because there's nobody that we've spoken to who hasn't gone, oh my goodness, I didn't know about this, and this is mind blowing. That these amazing, like you were saying about imagining who would be the equivalent now if we had to sort of send these people into a war zone. How would they fare? What would they be used for?
One of the most absolutely fascinating aspects of this, Sarah, that I'm just curious, no spoiler alerts, but just imagine I can imagine there's a story within a story of just like one fateful evening riding through the night and what took place, avoiding snipers, and what did they come across just over the course of like one evening
and then
one night.
Repeated over and over. And it's mind-boggling. We are enormously lucky, this generation, that we haven't experienced a world war. I mean, there's been plenty of wars out there, but not this all-encompassing world war that affected everyone. And it's just mind-boggling. I'm going to double back to Charlie Borman. He got a cigarette out of me. And so back in 2008, there was this very, very posh show called The Legend of the Motorcycle in Half Moon Bay.
I was...
Yeah, I know you were at Legend of the Motorcycle. And back then I smoked. and I was outside the hotel having a crafty cigarette, and Charlie clearly smelt it, and he came out and he said, "Oh, I say, who are you?" I said, "I'm Emma." He said, "I've forgotten my cigarettes. Would you mind?" And he stole a couple of cigarettes off me, never gave them back to me, the rotter. But a really charming fellow. Very, very charming fellow. And such a great ambassador for motorcycling. I mean, you talk about having the passion. He loves motorbikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been watching Long Way Home?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's as hot as you can get right now. I was just watching a couple episodes of it last night. It's quite enjoyable. I mean, so if you got Charlie Borman attached to this and you're raising funds, so you got a Kickstarter going. We just helped add a little to the coffer.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really kind of you.
I'll reach out to the listenership. I mean, this is an extraordinary story of a period of time that often gets overlooked. And I know there's been one or two, but how many World War II movies can you name? Just hundreds. How many
just hundreds from Clint Eastwood alone.
Right.
But how many World War One movies? Now they're out there, and there was one made quite recently. But gosh, it's thin on the ground. It really is.
Yeah.
And these are stories that need to be told.
Yeah, and it was funny because I remember when 1917 came out, the Sam Mendes film with the one shot, and I read that it was about this messenger, and you always have that fear when you've been sitting on an idea for a while, or you've written a screenplay, and then you read something and you think, oh gosh, now are they going to be telling my story? But of course, it wasn't about a dispatch rider, extraordinarily somebody on foot, but yeah, still, I kind of have just always been having this sort of fear almost that, I just don't want anybody to beat us to it because, this story is true and amazing. And but yeah, there haven't been as many World War One stories or Great War stories as I thought there would be. And yeah, so when I'd done all of this research and I thought, it's so strange that people don't really know about dispatch riders. And I think I've sort of saying earlier about, the point that Michael Carragher, who wrote this great book, San Ferian, makes, is that dispatch riders, in his opinion, sort of at times single-handedly kept communication going.
Oh, absolutely.
Saving lives.
I couldn't agree more.
And that one piece of information, can change a battle, which can change the course of a war. It's just information exchange in a war zone is pivotal. It's just so important because it can change everything.
Yeah.
On a dime.
Well, I think it's got all the components you need. You've got Isle of Man racing, TT. Oh, that's interesting to sound. You've got motorcycles.
The lowriders are cruising up and down Washington Street.
Death-defying riding during a war. I mean, it's all there.
So, to our listenership, how can they find your Kickstarter?
It's a very long link to share, but the project is called the film is called Across the Line, and that's what we will call the documentary. So you can find it on Kickstarter if you search Across the Line, War Heroes of the TT. But we are on social media as Across the Line Film on Facebook and Instagram, where you and Threads, where you'll find the link to the Kickstarter there.
Is that referencing the finish line and the front line?
I feel so.
Oh, you got me there.
Oh, that's
tricky.
That's
Clever.
tricky.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
I'll put a link in our show notes as well.
Right.
Is there any other plugs? Any way people can find out more about your project and your great grandfather?
Yeah, well, I mean, the project, all of the information is pretty much there, and on social media. I mean, there is certainly information about Cyril out there. I think he's been put on Wikipedia and whatnot, but I think a big reason for me wanting to tell this story as a movie and a documentary is because the information isn't really out there. There is another great book which I can recommend to anybody who's interested in dispatch riders and racers contributing to the war, which is by Nick and Martin Shelley brothers, and it's called Two Wheels to War. And the Shelley brothers have been very supportive of me, and their book is wonderful. We've handed that out to various actors who have come on board at different points in the project, just to say, here, have another read here about what dispatch riders did. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we can get this documentary made, and then I can share the years of research that I've done. As I say, once upon a time, we were going to be having a big budget and making this fairly easily, but now we sort of feel like we just want to do it, and so we're trying to be determined, but also because of my years of research where I got to know the motorcycle community, I was really struck by how helpful everybody was, how excited they were, how, I've had so many offers of support. And I thought, do you know what, maybe if we can get what is a real micro budget together for this and then add blood, sweat and tears, then I think that we can do this and we can tell this story. And hopefully Cyril would be, proud of, doing something when the odds were slightly against us. So that's why we thought, okay, well, let's launch a Kickstarter campaign, see if we can get people to basically help make this documentary with us. So, even just making the noise about doing it this way has brought lots of people to us, sort of saying, this is really interesting. Can we have a chat? So just fingers crossed that whether it's sort of through the campaign or any means possible, we can get it made. Because I'm genuinely excited to tell people the full story.
Well, I hope that some of people listening to this can unbelt a fiver or two for the cause. And I don't want to actually take away from people contributing, but I'm looking on Amazon right now. Two Wheels to War is written by Martin and Nick Shelley. It is the tale of 12 bright young men who volunteered their own motorcycles.
12.
Yes,
is the answer.
12 bright young men who volunteered their own motorcycles for the British Expeditionary Force in 1914. The cover alone, there is a very, very smiling young man sitting on the remains of a motorcycle that looked like it's been a victim of a large bomb. But he seems quite happy about it. It is currently on sale for $55.95 in hardcover only. And it's, it's, or you can pay $13.99 for 4 weeks.
No.
And earn 56 Amazon points doing it.
Okay, thank you, Emma.
All right, very good.
So, this is a great project, really something. It's a great story to be told, and we all want to have more motorcycle movies, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, I highly recommend.
I think it's got everything.
To our listeners, one of the things I like, for what I think it was like for £50, you'll get notified of any news and updates. So what a great way to keep up with it.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll have. Yeah.
I think the tale, it's a good old-fashioned tale of daring do. And I think that's what draws you in, because things were different back then, and just a heroic tale of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. It's delicious. I mean,
I can't wait for it.
Yeah,
I can't wait either. I mean, we need to try and make sure that we make this happen, because I guarantee it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So, Sarah, will you stay in touch with us and let us know when there's an update? We'd love to share with people and get people, excited about it.
Absolutely. I mean, we are really hoping to start filming in the summer, getting interviews with people. I've already been in touch with Jenny Tinmouth, TT racer herself. She's happy to have a bit of a chat to us, because for the documentary, we not only want to tell the story of what happened to these extraordinary people, but in order to do so, we want to speak to people who have raced the TT, legends of the TT, to kind of get into the heads of these people as well. I'm fascinated by psychology. And when I discovered what Cyril had done, I would kind of went, what kind of a human being do you have to be to do these things? I mean, not only race the TT, but to then kind of go, oh, if that wasn't, risky enough, let's go and fight in a world war. And then as soon as petrol rationing was over and we can race the TT again, let's go and risk our lives doing that. I was just like, what? So yeah, we are hoping to interview all sorts of people, and also the descendants of the Stevens family, the AJS.
Yeah.
And I should add, AJS Motorcycles have recently been in touch with us, the company as it is now, and they have offered their support to us. So that's been heartwarming for me, actually.
And that's the Brown family, isn't it? It's still under family ownership of the Browns. And we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we're going to let you go, and then we are going to do a whole little history hole on the AJS motor.
Time for bed, Sarah. It is 3 a.m. in Wolverhampton.
Yes, it is time to go. Well, thank you all so much for having me.
Thanks,
it's been
Sarah.
An absolute pleasure. I will go and get myself back to sleep. But yeah, thank you. And I will indeed keep you posted on everything with the project.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
please
fascinating story.
It is an extraordinary story. It really is.
Looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, I think I wish the greatest success for you, because this is absolutely a story that needs to be told.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, dear.
Off to bed for me. Take care.
Thanks.
Keep up the great work on the podcast. I love it.
All right. Good night, dear.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So how fascinating was that?
No, it's incredibly fascinating. And these are the sacrifices that our guests make. 3 o'clock in the morning. What do you have to say about that, Craig?
Wow, incredible. I'm just going through, just over the course of talking with Sarah, just brought us through this whole journey. And I was just thinking, putting yourself in that position and riding through time and space in the night by the front lines, getting shot at. You're on some 1912 technology suspension going over these.
I could see the film in my head. I can see scenes in my head.
And the pressure, because the information that they're carrying, it's so vital.
But, a lot of people say, well, what is the difference between people back then and now? And I think the one thing that we would find that is so different is the sense of duty, whether it's duty to your country, duty to the king. Certainly if you're British, and you've just got this sense of, I need to do what must be done. And I'm not suggesting that's lacking now, but it's kind of harder to source now.
It needs a John Williams score.
Oh,
yes.
I have to imagine the people weren't quite as soft as they are either today. It just seems like...
No. You know what? They are, the Isle of Man racers are a different breed. I think I mentioned to you a few years back when I was in London for the MCN show.
Yes.
And they set up a little pub, a little English pub, and it's called Have a Guinness with McGuinness. And they just plop John McGuinness down at a picnic table in this little pub inside the convention hall. And he's just drinking beers, and you can just sit down and have a beer and chat with him.
Nice.
Like, he's just this like salt of the earth, like dude who'll just sit down with strangers and chat. Which is, can you imagine doing that with like Rossi? No, they're just this different breed. They are fascinating,
and I'm sure he can drink an enormous amount. Yeah,
but Emma, I am curious a bit about the bikes that they were riding.
Yeah,
and you talked about how he probably had a huge relationship with AJS and helped put him on the map. AJS is not a bike that you see a lot of, and we don't hear a lot about.
Right, and that's actually a shame, because it's got a very, very interesting history. But
and I looked it up. It's had many different lives.
Right, it has, and I think at some stage it gets diluted down because people. Well, you pick up a certain part of its life and you think that's the only story, and there's far more. Now, I made the same mistake as everybody else, because Liza said, I'll do something on AJS. And I thought, oh, yeah, well, that's a London bike company, and it's not. And I am ashamed of myself. And we're going to come to why I thought that. So, 1909. 1909. How about that?
When was Harley Davidson? Just to put it on the scale.
1903.
No, 03.
03. Okay.
Yeah. So these are some
Triumph
of the earliest
01.
bikes. Yeah.
1909. Oh, no, we're going to go back further than that. But 1909, AJS was formed. A.J. Stevens.
Andrew Jackson Stevens.
Albert John, you dunce.
So close.
And this is really a family story of Joe Stevens and his 4 sons. So we're not going to start in 1909. We're going to go back to 1897. So 12 years beforehand. And Joe Stevens was already established as like a machine shop. You know, they did a lot of stuff. They did nuts and bolts and they made in 1897, they made their first motorcycle kind of from proprietary parts. So back then, in the very, very early days of motorcycling, you buy an engine here and you buy your wheels here and you frame it and you disassemble them.
Yeah.
And, you'd call it, it's a Stevens Flyer or whatever.
Like a Rickman, maybe? Or...
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they were doing that for about 10 years. And they got rather good at making their own engines and putting them in other bikes. And really, you always look for that pivotal moment that said, let's make our own bike. Well, there was a time trial in 1909, and the winning motorcycle, which recorded, I think, 40 miles an hour over 24 hours, had an AJS engine in it. So I think they said, look, let's make the leap. Instead of putting our engines in other people's bikes and making nuts and bolts, let's make the whole flipping motorcycle.
Do you think they cast them in their garden?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, it could be.
I think, yes. So anyway, AJS was formed in 1909, and they moved. This is really a story about a region of England called the Black Country. And the reason it's called the Black Country, there's a lot of industry there, there's a lot of mining there, so you get this black coal dust everywhere. And the original company, Joe's company, was in Wensfield, which is a tiny little town, a little industrial town. But they moved to Wolverhampton, which happens to be Sarah's hometown, in 1909. And that is where AJS were based. And this is why I'm so shameful, because they were a good Midlands company, but down the road they got absorbed, and we'll come to that in a bit.
Yes.
So racing was always important to AJS.
So were the original bikes street bikes or were they racing bikes?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Oh, yeah, I guess
because
back then,
the two were inextricably linked, and it's kind of always been that way. But more so in the early days, because you didn't have a range of 30 or 40 models in your inventory. You might have had 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you do the hot version that you can race, and then you do the slightly tamer version that you can ride on the street. And so it was back then. But their first model was in 1910. And they seem to have done rather well with 350cc bikes. Very rudimentary bikes at first, but that was the capacity, which neatly dovetailed in with the junior TT, because with the TT, you've got different classes. You've got the junior, which is 350, and then the senior, which is over 350. So we're talking about the junior here. So, their first model was in 1910. Their first TT race, as we discussed with Sarah, was 1911. Cyril came on board in 1913 and 1914, together with a couple of others. And we already know that AJS won in 1914, had the second place winner as well, Williams and Williams. They continued. Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because you're very knowledgeable about a lot of different bikes. When you hear AJS, what does that symbolize to you? What is the thing that sticks out to you?
Well, to me, because I'm not going to say I'm a lot younger than the company, but to me, the thing that stands out the most are the racers of the 1950s and the 1960s, the Porcupines and the 7Rs. And that's when they were under AMC control.
Okay.
So this is pure.
So you remember the AJSs of your, like.
Oh, well, even back, those were obsolete. No. Those were obsolete bikes by the time I came along, but they were pictures in a book. Oh, look at this AJS Porcupine. What an amazing looking thing. But the bikes I remember are the Stormers. And I had a couple of friends who had Stormers, and AJS Stormers were mid-70s dirt bikes, and they're very rudimentary, but they were plenty powerful and great-looking dirt bikes. And I had a couple of friends who had Stormers, and if you were really clever, you figured out how to get lights and a number plate on it, and then you could ride one on the road. And I had a couple of mates who had Stormers on the road, and it was totally illegal because it was a dirt bike, but they were quick bikes in their day. But AJS Stormers were late 60s and early 70s, so that's the AJS I remember. But we're not even near there yet.
Yeah.
Not even near there yet. So anyway, where was I? 13, 14, then to the TT. 1914 was the last TT, because after that war broke out. AJS continued to make motorcycles and competition motorcycles, but in 1916 the British government halted production of all civilian vehicles. So you needed to make military vehicles or you needed to make ammunition, and AJS made ammunition. Well, back in 1908, after the war was over, they resumed production in 1919, making motorcycles. 1920, we've already told that story. Cyril Williams won the 1920 Junior TT on an AJS. And throughout the 1920s, if you look at the winning board of the TT races all through the 20s and early 30s, there was always an AJS up there. I mean, these were pedigree racing bikes, and they just improved that formula of the 350 for racing. For the street, they had a multitude of engines, including some pretty big V-twins. And it was a V-twin that was really their downfall, which was the S3. Very sophisticated V-twin, aluminum construction, it got a shaft drive primary on it. It was, I mean, this is basically a sidecar tug, but a very sophisticated engine. And unfortunately, it was their downfall, because the very same year that they released the S3, 1931, they went into receivership because it was so expensive to manufacture. And, you know, the companies back then were a lot smaller, and they just couldn't bear the construction costs. And you come up with a bike like the S3 that was enormously expensive to make, enormously expensive to buy. If I could remind you, the Great Depression was in 1929. So you're trying to sell probably one of the most expensive bikes on the road 2 years after the Great Depression. That ain't going to happen. And I always think it's the greatest irony that some of the most glorious mechanical creations ever made are from that period of late 20s, early 30s. Anybody here familiar with Duesenbergs?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing cars. Just absolutely amazing cars in every way.
Supercharged 12 V12 engines.
Yeah,
and
just the engineering is just incredible. But these are cars that were made immediately after the Wall Street crash of 29. These are Depression-era cars.
Forgotten.
Right? And, of course, Duesenberg went bankrupt, as did AJS. However, the good news for AJS, so we're at the end of 1931. AJS, the receivers have been called in. There's no money. Is this familiar?
Yeah.
But they've got a racing pedigree.
Yep.
Which is valuable. So BSA put in a bid because BSA are pretty damn big. In fact, they are the largest manufacturer of motorcycles at that period of time. but they didn't get the company. The company was actually won by the Collier brothers. And you're not going to know the Collier brothers. They're based in London.
Okay, this is why you thought it was a London company.
But their company was called Matchless.
Yes.
And now we come into the period of time of AJS and Matchless. And that is why initially a lot of people think, oh, AJS, that's a London company, because so many people remember the AJS Matchless years. Now, I'm going to upset a lot of Matchless owners right now, but it's absolutely true.
I don't think there are a lot of Matchless owners.
Well, maybe.
Listening, if you're out there,
I know
listen up.
one.
No, there's yeah.
Okay, then, put your hearing aids in. But Matchless, it was one of those matches, if you'll excuse the pun, that was really made in heaven, because Matchless were very high-quality bikes, and there's no question about that, but they didn't have a racing pedigree. They were, I hate to use the term commuter bikes. They were road bikes.
I rode one.
Pedestrian.
I rode one once. A friend brought one here to the garage, and I rode it down the street. And it was the first time I rode one that had the reverse controls.
Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you get on?
Oh, fine.
Backwards?
I just didn't try and stop.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, it's not only the gear shift is on the other side.
Yeah.
It's 1 down, 4 up.
So I'm looking at this porcupine, 1949,
Yes.
AJS E90,
Yeah, the porcupine.
valued at $7 million.
That's about right.
That's for the giant tank. Right?
So is this with the collaboration with Matchless at
Yes.
1949?
Yes.
This thing is absolutely insane looking.
Now, have a look at the 7R. Have a look at AJS 7R. It'll do your head in. It's got a massive gold engine. Amazing looking thing. So the Collier brothers pumped in plenty of money. But in 1938, yes,
is there a porcupine in the Legend of the Motorcycle?
there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or no, the Art of the Motorcycle.
Art of the Motorcycle.
And that was also, I think, at the Legend of the Motorcycle.
Flat
Yeah.
twin, facing forward. Amazing thing. Did you find the 7R yet, Craig?
Oh, yeah.
It's quite a thing, isn't it? Look at that engine.
I love the gold and black. Oh, my God.
But this is under collaboration of Matchless, but they're drawing on the AJS heritage. During the 1940s and 50s, could you get AJS street bikes? Of course you could. Were people racing Matchlesses? Yes, they were. But we're talking about heritage. The AJS were the race bikes, the Matchless were the street bikes. Now, 1938, it was formed again into Associated Motorcycle, or AMC. Now, this one lasted quite a long time, and they picked up Sunbeam. Now, Sunbeams are something quite different as well. Sunbeam were the innovators.
Yeah.
And Sunbeam made some gloriously advanced but terribly pedestrian motorcycles. I suggest you look up a Sunbeam S7, which is very much a gentleman's bike. It's got about 12 horsepower, but it's a 4.5. It's a very advanced bike. 4.5 twin-cylinder bike with shaft drive, big balloon tires on it. Amazing looking.
It looks
thing.
like a modern-day hipster bike. Hipsters would be all over this.
It kind of loosely looks like a BMW. Almost.
It's got that kind of look.
Or
in
a Royal Enfield almost.
Yeah. So anyway, so now they're part of AMC. In 1952, the company grew again and incorporated Norton and Francis Barnett and Villiers. Now, this is quite important because now the small bikes come in. And a lot of the future of AJS and Matchless were tied up with smaller bikes from this point forward. And it also explained really a lot of trouble for Norton. Because as glamorous as the large bikes were, you have to understand that in the late 50s and very early 60s, small bikes were where the money was at. Mm. And so understanding that, you'll understand why AMC wanted to bring in Francis Barnett, who were a small bike manufacturer, Villiers, who made very, very good small capacity engines and chassis components. But trouble was on the horizon because you take a company like Norton, and Norton always had a name for high-performance machines. They had the ES2 singles. You can't really describe the ES2 as being high-performance, but it was for its day. But they had the Dominators. But remember, this is the late 50s and early 60s. So in conjunction with the design team of AMC and Francis Barnett, does this sound familiar with Husqvarna?
Oh, right. With everything going on.
And KTM doing their development work.
Yeah.
Norton, who are now part of AMC, came out with a small capacity line of bikes. Why am I talking about this? Because this was pivotal for the AMC company and the fortunes of AJS. They came out with these small machines. There was a 250 Jubilee, a 350 Navigator, and a 400 Electra, complete with an electric start. And to say they were a disaster was just, you can't describe how
were
bad.
They like already outdated once?
Well, no, I mean, they were very advanced bikes. They were short stroke twins. The Electra had an electric start. It had, it was quite unfortunate, the styling on it. Nobody could accuse a Norton Electra of being a good-looking bike, but it was cutting edge for the time. But there were all kinds of mechanical problems because it was underdeveloped, and I feel, and this is why to a certain extent I'm so pessimistic about KTM, because when you're bouncing development around 2 or 3 different companies, it's very, very hard to keep everybody focused on the same thing, and if essentially if you've got one company doing development work for another company, it's never going to end well. Did you find it yet?
It's the bike, it's just bland. I mean, it's standard fare. Talking about that.
That's actually had a lot of its bodywork taken off. Normally they came with a lot more bodywork than that. So anyway, 1966, AMC collapsed. And so that is the end of that. And it was reborn as Norton Villiers. You notice AJS is missing,
Right.
Matchless is gone, all gone. It's just Norton Villiers. Norton for the big stuff, Villiers for the small stuff. And the parent company with Manganese Bronze Holdings. We've already talked in the past, quite recently, about these giant holding companies like the ones that bought out AMC, AMF Harley.
Yeah, and just about how these brands have a value just for the name.
Right.
Which is why you have Moto Morini and Benelli and
so on and so forth.
AJS.
So we're going to come to the full stop of AJS. And back in the 1960s, there was a test rider who had the marvelous nickname of Fluff Brown. And Mr. Brown bought the rights to AJS, largely because of its racing heritage. And Fluff Brown was largely responsible for the Stormers that I remember from the 70s, and as good a bikes as they were. But basically, a lot of the Stormer was assembled from imported components.
How do you think he got that nickname? Do you think he was a fluffer?
Maybe. Well, the Browns are still involved in AJS, so you can actually ask them. It's still the same family. But basically, over the years, they've produced competition and street bikes with the AJS name, with very sporting look. Britain's, it's kind of in a unique position now. Here in America, we get used to the fact of, I want to learn to ride a bike. So you go out and buy yourself a liter bike or a 500. And you simply can't do that in England. You're stuck with a small capacity bike, a 125. So what I was struck with on my trip to England last summer was how many fantastic-looking 125s there are out there. You know, they try and make these things as interesting-looking as possible, and the AJS is no exception. And so what the Brown family have done, it's still stayed in family control. The Browns still own it. They own the rights to AJS, and they're manufacturing basically Chinese-made bikes in a very retro style with nice paint jobs carrying the AJS name brand.
Now, Bagel, I sent you the link. Did you look at what they offer? You're muted.
Whoops, sorry. Yeah, I noticed that they are selling scooters too.
Yeah. AJS scooters. What do you think of those?
Well, they're Chinese scooters. I'm sure they're shiny and pretty.
So
you reserve judgment.
I've never seen them. I don't know anything about them. I'm sure they're better than some.
Okay, we need to start shedding our assumption that Chinese is crap.
Well, they're doing
shedding.
No, they're doing a bit of everything, but I think if we take me doing a history hole on AJS on face value, as always, I'm just giving you a taste. If you want to talk about highlights of AJS, talk about highlights, I think you really should talk about the 1931 S3, the V-twin, because it was so advanced. You should talk about the 350 TT winning bikes in the 1920s. You certainly should talk about the AJS Porcupine. You should talk about the 7R. And these really are the highlights of AJS. And the Stormer, of course. The Stormer was a great bike in its day. And that's a good selection of bikes that were completely under the control of the Stevens brothers, and then a selection of bikes that were under control of the Collier brothers.
But I want to talk about their current offerings.
They're great-looking bikes. My God.
Great-looking bikes.
The 71 Desert Scrambler is the one for me.
They're 125 cc's, and I think the Cruiser is a 250. So these are what would be considered learner bikes in UK, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just cheap learner bikes. There's a ton of these 125s over there. And they're making them styled in the retro styling of AJS bikes.
My God, they've got a Bilston. Fantastic.
I think they're doing a really good job. And I think I read on the current, yes, they're getting like the frame and the engine from China, but then they're putting all their own components on to make a British bike. It still is a British bike that has the nod styling wise to the old AJS. The scooters are completely modern. They're
right.
In fact, did you see the one that looks like the Honda Adventure scooter?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they have their own ADV scooter. But the motorcycles, they look kick-ass. I would totally ride one of those around town.
Yeah.
I'd go beyond even just not only learner bikes, but a good bike for the city. I mean, you live downtown London. You don't want some.
But we don't have them here. This looks like this is just going to be over maybe Europe, UK. I'm not sure.
But I mean, obviously, they are putting some stock in these bikes. I suspect there's some quality to them because they are covered by a 2-year part and labor guarantee.
Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. So what a long history. And to see AJS, it never died. It just kept coming back because you see this with brands that made a name for themselves at some point, and they will always have that value. And perhaps the name was all the way back from Cyril winning at Isle of Man that helped create the name.
Right. And I think, so if we extrapolate this to modern times, how about that? And let's talk a little bit about KTM, which is our favorite subject.
Only if you apologize.
The saving grace for KTM will be their racing heritage. Because as fanatical as people are with a street brand, that isn't what's going to save them. What's going to save them is the racing heritage.
Yeah.
And that's got to be the value for Bajaj, is keeping that racing heritage alive. But what they choose to do with a company, and I want to make this clear, with 100% ownership, it's no longer KTM. It's Bajaj West. And people need to understand that. That company is going to be run as Bajaj run their companies, not as KTM run their companies. And that's inevitable with any takeover, whether it's the Stevens brothers getting taken over by the Collier brothers, whether it's AMC buying up Norton and Villiers. That's how it works. The parent company have the pockets, and they bring in their management team and they say, this is how you're going to do business.
Well, we've seen AJS scooters. Do you think we're going to see KTM scooters?
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to milk that brand for everything it's worth.
Well, they do have a history of making scooters too. They just never came over here.
Interesting. Well,
yep.
There you go.
Long line of scooters.
Believe me, if you've chucked 900 million at something, you're going to milk every penny out of that name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think an adventure-style scooter painted orange with KTM over it will be rather delicious.
Would it work in the American market, though?
Well, we only know our market.
They're not counting on the American market.
Right.
I can tell you that.
Here's the thing: the common thread with Bajaj scooters and AJS having scooters is scooters are incredibly popular in the rest of the world, not here, and that's why they have the money to invest in these companies.
Yep.
Full stop. So we
Scooter
just have
money.
the perspective of here, and we make fun of our little scooters and their flip-flops.
Oh.
The reality is the world rides scooters.
I love scooters. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
It takes scooter money to save a motorcycle company like KTM.
Right.
Exactly.
But before we go any further, because I mean, time's getting on. Listen, I want to talk
That's what I'm trying to.
few minutes to Sparky.
Oh.
Sparky,
Sparky, wake up, darling.
Where did you come from?
So I am on a cross-the-country trip, kind of a retirement trip. I started.
Oh, you're far too young to be retired. Don't lie, darling.
Very fortunate. Well, I had a government job with a pension, kind of a rare thing, and financial planner is like, you can retire at 55, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding?
Wow.
All right.
Can I have your financial planner's number?
Yeah. Well, I'm just grateful that, I work for a nonprofit, healthcare organization that offered a traditional pension, which is pretty much unheard of these days. It is a rare thing.
And so you are enjoying your pension by riding a Suzuki V-Strom 650 around the beautiful country that is America.
Yes, it is a Wee-Strom.
It's a Wee-Strom?
It's a Wee-Strom.
Oh, they're quite big, aren't they?
Yeah. It's a great bike. I mean.
Well, and Emma, did you know we have a history? We've ridden together before.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
The Rara.
Where were?
Oh, right.
I told long time, I'm a pre-Norman Reedus listener. I heard of you guys through Cleveland.
Yeah.
Who?
Cleveland Motor.
Who? Those guys?
Those
the
guys.
drunkards.
Yeah, the drunkards. And I sorry, Phil, but I like listening to you guys more because it's more about motorcycles.
Well, we're more sober.
Yeah. But yeah, Phil's a great guy. I'm not gonna badmouth him.
No,
I've seen his ball sack. So
he has his moment.
I can also say he's a great guy.
Yeah, and he's a lot of fun to be around. But anyways, I told my wife about Wura, and she rides too, and she's like, I want to be a part of that. And I'm from Michigan, so the closest it passed by was the leg between Columbus and Wisconsin. So
did we go to Wisconsin
or Illinois?
Oh.
It was,
yes.
Yeah, and you were going to the Harley dealership. That's why I think the next day, the two of us, we hightailed and took the ferry across the lake, back home. But anyways, we rode that leg.
No, not the Harley dealership, the Indian factory.
Well,
right.
Yes.
So we rode that leg with you guys.
Enough reminiscing. I'm more interested in what you're doing right now. So how long have you been on your trip?
I'm just short of 2 weeks in.
Oh, that's nice.
So I've, been inspired by motorcycle travelers, and have taken some short trips, week here, 2 weeks there. A couple of years ago, with my wife, we did Lake Superior, which is, wonderful ride to Circle.
Mm-hmm.
We took 10 days. And when we started to turn home, I was like, I don't want to go home. I want to do this more. I want to keep on going. And unfortunately, job and kids and whatever, but dreamed of doing an across the country trip and to see this country.
So this is your first cross country trip?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, kind of going, rough plan of, what I'm doing. And
so what's your favorite state to ride into thus far?
Oh, my
Better
gosh.
answer correctly, Sparky.
Oh. Well, yeah. Do you want me to say California?
Yes, I do.
Man, those mountain roads, you guys are spoiled. And I've done the whole, Tail of the Dragon, Terrahala, and all that stuff. That's great. But you guys have...
We got it all.
You've got a whole entire mountain range that is gigantic of all of that. And it's everywhere. It's just beautiful.
And the coast.
Mm-hmm. And the coast, which I have not explored yet because that is my next leg of the trip.
So, you told me you're heading up to Seattle.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My son, he rides, but not like I do, but he likes trains, and because he's taking the train, to Chicago with his friends a lot of times, and he wanted to do the train ride, the Amtrak ride across.
I've done it from Oakland to Seattle.
And well, you can take it from Chicago all the way.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do that, and I'm like, all right, hey, how about we meet in Seattle? So he is going to be in Seattle in about a week and a half, and I'm going to meet him. And a couple of those days, we got a bike rented for him. And
fantastic!
We're gonna
the father
tool
and
around.
son thing.
Yep.
I think that train trip was called the Zephyr back in the day. The
California Zephyr.
Oh,
the Chicago to Oakland was the California Zephyr.
Oh, someone's in trouble.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So,
oh my God.
So you managed to fit in a day in the garage on your trip. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because I was like, do I do this? Do I do this? Hey, if I do this, I could be at the garage on Sunday and, and have... Emma work on my bike, which was just an honor.
Please. But you can be an inspiration to far more people than you realize because, we've already established how you're financing this. You're retired. Well, that's not an option for a lot of people. However, there are going to be people listening to this. You can't ride on a 650.
The 650 V-Strom, I bought that thing, used.
Right.
It had something like 8,000 miles on it. I think I paid $5,000 for it.
Right.
And that was, a few years ago. And now it's got well over 50,000 miles on it. All I've had to do to that bike is maintenance. Tire, chain, sprockets, brake pads. Check this, valve clearances every 20,000, always dead on. Great bike. And I've done track days on that bike, and I've done a BDR on that bike. I mean, it is really it is the Swiss Army knife of motorcycles. Doesn't do anything great, but it does everything. And so it's cheap. And I'm doing this ride on the cheap, doing some camping, I'm staying with a relative tonight, and
All right, I have a question for you. Since this is your first trip, you're learning a lot of lessons. What's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody looking to do a cross-country trip?
Oh boy.
It's one thing you've learned that you wish you had figured out before.
It's hard to say because I've done, shorter trips. It's just a matter of length. I don't know, pace myself. I've mistakenly done some high mileage days, which I've kind of regretted. Like, I wish I slowed down a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean it's like you're enjoying this gourmet meal. So just slow down and flavor, taste the flavors.
But Utah was amazing. Loved it. I did kind of did Route 66 from Chicago to Amarillo, but you know, a lot of that is just service road for the freeway.
Right.
There's some stops to see, but it's not.
You went through northern or southern Utah?
Southern Utah.
Oh, yeah. I'll be returning there. In a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
But I did the 66 thing, and albeit 25 years ago, but it is quite frustrating because Route 66 has been replaced by Interstate 40.
Right.
And it's close enough that you can see the trucks on Interstate 40.
Right.
Sometimes
It's a service road.
It's a service road. And you'll be riding it, and you'll go through a town, and you'll go 20 miles beyond the town, and the road just stops.
You're right.
And you're like, where'd the road go? And it's disappeared into the desert. So you have to turn around and go all the way back until you can get over to 40. Right. And then you've got to kind of guess a little bit where 66 starts. It's wonderful. I wouldn't have missed it.
And there is an official national Route 66 museum every 100 miles.
Oh, yeah.
The
But it's something to see because there is so much memorabilia on that road.
Right.
And some of it is in perfect restored condition, but those aren't the jewels. The jewels are kind of like the bombed out diners that are derelict, but you can go in, you can still see the covers on the seats, and you can still see some of the cabinets behind the counter.
I like the old motels. They just poured sand in the swimming pool. But they still have it all out there in the furniture.
I reckon anybody who gets the opportunity to do it. And of course, coming from your neck of the woods, it'd be a crime not to.
Right. Yeah. So it is something you can do on the cheap. That's the whole thing. It's the time was really the time was the valuable thing that I needed. And that's what retirement gave me. But I'm paying for gas and, you know, campsites are $10, $30 a night. Of course, you know, some of them are a little bit more expensive in the fancier national parks, but, you know.
Well, cool. I appreciate that you fit us in on your adventure.
And you don't have to eat out every time, you know?
Well, and you got to try our taqueria.
Yeah. But, I mean, I bought tortillas and a can of beans and mixed in some taco seasoning and had that for dinner.
And this is why you're able to retire.
And here's dinner for $4. So, you know, so it can be done. And I've eaten a lot of oatmeal and, you know.
Well, cool. Well, congratulations.
Well, I'm not done with him yet. I know we're short of time. I'm going to ask you the very personal question, Sparky.
Uh-oh.
Why the spark plug on your arm? Which came first, the plug or your nickname?
The nickname was from high school. Somebody made a sarcastic, or I made a sarcastic joke. Somebody thought I was seriously dumb. They said they should call you Sparky, and
it stuck.
Well, I was a caddy. And I don't know if you guys know it, carrying golf clubs.
Yeah, no, we've all seen Caddyshack.
Yeah, well, it's not like that. But there is a Caddyshack, and somebody wrote on the wall of Caddyshack, Sparky's a fly. And a fly is like a first-year junior caddy.
Right.
And then next thing you know it, everybody's calling me Sparky. So at first I kind of, I didn't really care for it, but I'm bringing it back.
You leaned into it.
And then the spark plug, because that's kind of like, hey, I like motorcycles. You notice what spark plug it is?
NGK?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I just got a new tattoo, Sparky.
You can tell it's an NGK because it's ribbed for her pleasure.
Yes, exactly. But yes, I just got a new tattoo as well.
No, Emma, do not.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to show him. I'm not going to show him. I showed you, didn't I, Craig?
No, you just told me.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Okay. I don't want to get any charges brought against us.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Craig, you've got a plug you want to do.
Yeah, you'd better get it in there. Get your butt plug out there.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And just wanted to announce our 5th annual. This is our 5th year of doing our endless summer motorcycle training event at Laguna Seca.
And there's no ARMA this year,
Monterey,
is there?
no ARMA. It'll just be us out there. during the infamous Bike Week of Monterey after
Fantastic.
Moto America. So we're pleased to announce we'll have our beginner licensing courses through our advanced riding clinic level 2.
Yeah.
So our whole suite of classes, July 16th through the 20th. Monterey, and we put a special deal together for all the listeners, all the misfits out there that want to come train and become safer, more skilled street riders.
Mm-hmm.
So Misfits 20.
Hey.
All caps, Misfits 20. If you go to pacificmotorcycletraining.com, you'll see all our locations and you'll see our event on there.
I always look forward to it because when we go to the races, we always go out to go see what you guys are up to. You get a lot of people coming out for it.
Yeah, it's been building every year, and I can't believe we're already on year 5.
Isn't that amazing? It creeps by, and I love swinging by as well when I'm not messing around in the Dolomites, because we always get treated like celebrities when we come and visit, which is great.
Everyone loves seeing you guys roll up, podcast listeners. And when the Misfits roll up, it's always a good time. So hope to see you all out there, all the listeners.
What are those dates again?
July 16th through the 20th. So 16th and 17th, beginner classes, 18th, intermediate class, and our 2 advanced classes on the 19th and 20th of July. And plug in Misfits 20 for 20% off all the classes, intermediate through advanced.
And Laguna Seca, the most famous raceway in the world. How cool's that?
And I cannot wait until the races go to the Moto America races so I can enter in the Not a Race.
Oh, God.
So you can win it.
Well, you know what? Some people say it's unfair that I was on the Niken when I was passing all those Harley baggers in the it's called not the corkscrew.
Yes, the corkscrew.
Maybe I'll take my Harley bagger this time.
There you go.
Even it out. I don't know. We'll see. Could be fun. Let's get to some quick emails. This one is I know the answer to the question. It's very simple. And this one comes from our good friend Patty in New Jersey.
Hey, Patty.
Says, silly question, not worthy of the Miss Emma tier. I recently bought a manual tire changer and have been working on some of my own bikes. I changed my track bike tires and balanced them, and they work perfectly. Next, my DRZ. Question being, when you change a tire and tubes, do you overinflate them to set the bead on tube tires? Miss y'all and see some of you soon. The answer's simple. Yes.
Yeah, because how else are you going to set the bead? But don't try and do it dry, darling. Make sure you use the lube. I favor Dawn dish soap because it's got no salt in it, so it doesn't chew up your rim. But you need something to help with the lubrication.
We always, it's scary when you're overinflating. You have to wait for the pop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and generally, the tire always says don't inflate above 50 psi. But, at the shop, I regularly inflate them to 100 to get them to go pop.
Right.
So
just let it down.
Yeah, just let it
when
down.
you're done. But yeah, that pop can be kind of alarming.
Yeah.
And I've had trouble getting them to seat, and you just sit there and you bounce the thing on the
yeah.
And I've even used a ratchet strap to like wrap it around the whole
thing. Yes.
Just to get the thing to
muy peligro.
More lube.
Yeah.
Emma.
Yeah, definitely more lube.
Well, I come from a cold place, so our tires don't really warm up.
I've got
heat lamps.
I have one here from Brett Farrell.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Misfits. I might have a world record here. This bike has taken me almost 30 years to get back on the road. It's the first bike I bought and worked on sporadically as I moved around the world. It stayed in boxes at my dad's, and whenever I visited, I would work on some part of it. Eventually, he just put it all together roughly and shipped it over to me, and it's taken me 3 years. Where are we? And she is now licensed and even leak-free. Fantastic. It has been a wonderful experience, and learning to ride such an old bike has given you a whole new way of looking at new ones. It was an ex-South African military bike, so has seen a tough life. Here she is getting her first bath in 40-odd years. This is a pre-unit Triumph. So it's probably mid-50s, early to mid-50s. It's gorgeous looking bike. We should kind of include a picture of this bike on the notes.
Nope.
No, we can't. Oops. Oh, well, you take my word for it. It's a very handsome bike. I have 3 Triumphs from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but I've always held on to my first bike, a GS 500, telling everybody at least it was reliable when the Brit bikes need work. Now my daughter is riding the GS 500 and is proving to be unreliable. A quick question, if I may. She has started cutting out dead after about half an hour of riding. We turn around and let her coast back down the mountain for 15 minutes, and she starts right up and goes again for another half an hour. Last time this happened, I had Spark in my pocket to test and no spark on both sides. Okay, well, you are smart because you figured out it's got no spark, so we're down to 3 things. Electrical heat issue, right? Yes, because it's affecting both sides. Should I suspect the trigger coils mechanism first, or could it be one of the high voltage coils go wrong and take out the other one? Where best to start? Thank you so much for keeping us entertained. We love following all your shenanigans. Oh, and whenever Liza starts to refer to the Jeep, please ask Bagel to chime in how he's going on with the Beetle. No! No! Because we'd never get the two to shut up. Also, I hope it's looking up on the job front for him. Well, things are looking up for Bagel as well, because he's going to get some super-duper new shock absorbers. Great big cheesy kisses from Switzerland to all of you. So, Brett, I'm going to be very, very quick. JS500 is a very interesting bike. It might have gone, but it has got 2 pickup coils, which live under the little round cover on the engine. You know that. It has 1 CDI unit, and you know that. And it has got 2 coils, 1 for each cylinder, so it's 222. It's hugely unlikely that 1 coil has taken the other one out. It's also hugely unlikely that both pickup coils are going out simultaneously. So that leaves the CDI, but even that's kind of a hard sell. It may be. Your bike's got an interlock on it. If it was made after 87, it's got an interlock. And an interlock means side stand switch, neutral switch, clutch switch, ignition switch, and kill switch. And they've all got to work. And if one's a bit fuzzy, there's your problem. So it may be, if you've got no spark on both sides, that's where I'd look. And it's very, very easy to bypass because basically the interlock feeds 1 wire into the CDI. And once you figure out what that 1 wire is, and you can disconnect it. So now the ignition switch, the kill switch. Oh, no, wait a minute. I think it's got power to it. So you have to figure out how that power's being broken. God, it's been a while since I worked on a GS500. But it sounds like you've got component failure, minor component failure that's falling into thinking it's major component failure. So pursue that. But, you did the smart thing. At least you know it sparks. So you know it's not running out of fuel. You know that the engine's not overheating. It could be something as simple as a kill switch. If it's taking both spark plugs out at the same time, right. It could be, And don't ever discount the charging on a Suzuki.
Does that have a clutch switch or a kickstand switch?
Oh, yeah, all of them.
So those are the kind of things to be checking, all of those different switches.
And it could be just a little short in the wiring to one of the switches, too.
And remember, Suzuki haven't designed a charging system that's worked since 1973. So why start now? Check its charging. Make sure it's charging properly. And charging properly means between 13.7 and 14.5 volts. No less, no more.
Thank you, Emma. All right, we have time for one more, and this was one that just came in, so I was able to...
Oh, did you get it off the interwebs?
Yes, I did. I sent it to Bagel.
Oh, Bagel.
Oh.
Read it out so loud, darling.
Did you get it, Bagel?
Right, I do have one from Chuck Burgess.
Hey, Chuck.
He writes, "Ahoy, Misfits." In the vein of the conversation during episode 620, where Naked Jim was saying how cool it is to ride your bike to a big bike event, with Bagel commenting and arriving with a tag from a different state, I can say our 6th annual Electrics at the Dragon was a drawn from many states success once again.
Fantastic.
We had 20 bikes on picture day early in the week at the Trail of the Dragon store's Dragon statue, covering riders from as far as California, Michigan, Texas, and Florida, as well as other nearer states like Ohio, South Carolina, and my own Roll Tide, Alabama.
Yeah. Roll Tide.
While some of our regulars do trailer their bikes in for our week-long meetup, many of them have also done the ride all the way in for the event in the past, particularly California Bob, Michigan Carl, and Florida Scott, adding Florida Bill to the list this year, who made an EV Rider episode covering the event. And that is at evrider.tv.
Cool.
And coming in from Alabama, I always ride up and back on my 2 Zeros and 1 Energica over the 7 years I've been coming to the tail, starting in summer 2019, which I like to call the episode 0 prequel for the meetups that started in 2020. Along with enjoying so many of the excellent rides this area around the Smokies provides for Twisties lovers, we also do our proper ride to eat side, with our favorite spots being Talico Grains Bakery in Talico Plains, Tennessee, the west end of the Cherahalla Skyway. That's Cherahalla for you non-locals. The historic Tapoco Lodge just down the hill from the end of the Dragon by the Fugitive Dam. You youngsters will need to Google that along with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And Forager's Canteen overlooking Scott Creek in Sylva, North Carolina, coincidentally just one little town over from where the lingering train crash wreckage from the Fugitive can still be seen from the adjacent highway.
Right.
For the Fugitive, they actually crashed the train and the wreck is still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild. I'm still holding out hope that our meetup will one day line up close enough to vintage days that some of you may end up on this end of the country for the latter and decide a quick hop down to the tail would fit your schedules. Or, of course, that some event at Barber's in Birmingham brings you all this far east so that I can ride down and meet you in the flesh, or perhaps in the suit.
Or can I point out, just like Sparky, or you can ride out here. All right. Oh, Bagel, you can continue.
Incidentally, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Incidentally, I heard Mike Corbin's electric speed record bike come up in number 622.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitively say it was at Barber's Museum in October of 2020. But I have no idea if it's still there or not. Maybe I need to grab my gas buddies and make another ride down that way with that as our fact-finding mission excuse. Been loving the podcast for so many years now, I guess going back to 2018 at least. I never expected to learn as much about gas bikes as I have learned just from being a podcast listener for so many years. Your continued enthusiasm for Royal Enfields has me pondering hard over ads for the Super Meteor 650s, a pretty red one of which I actually sat on in Raleigh, North Carolina last summer. Chuck Burgess, riding electric in North Alabama since 2012 and missing hearing the voices of Electric Terry and Morgan Vetter on the cast.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking at
Chuck.
pictures, all the e-bikes, electric bikes there, a little bit of everything. That would be fun.
Wouldn't it
It would
just?
be a fun event to ride. Bagel's jealous, I can tell.
Yeah, I would like to go there, definitely.
There it is. Well, there you go. That's another episode. Now, Sparky, you got to see how the hot dogs are made. What do you think?
I am impressed. It's great to be in the room, you know? I mean, because I've seen pictures of it, but
in the room where it happens.
You know, I didn't know that you had the Spice Girls.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Oh, God, Liza is fucking obsessed with the Spice Girls. Only surpassed by her love of New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, I do love them.
So there's surprises.
Yep. There are lots of toys in here, but thank you so much for coming out, and a big thanks to Sarah Williams for staying up and telling the
that
story.
was awesome.
Fascinating.
Just
Indeed.
something that we've never heard about, and that was just this family lore that they share, around the dining
And
table.
that's where the best stories come from. But God, that is a story that needs to be told. And really, I mean, I go back to what I said. I mean, you just run out of Second World War movies. There have been so many, and great ones as well.
Yeah.
But World War One movies, aside from 1917.
Yeah, and also that's a piece of motorcycle history from the very beginning of motorcycling too.
Absolute
That's a
crucible,
great
yeah.
point.
You
That's
know?
a great point.
So that's really pretty cool that's coming to light again.
And here's the question: if they ever do make not the documentary but the actual film, I'm curious: will they recreate AJS motorcycles? I want to talk to the bike builder to see what they're building it from. That would
Oh
be
no!
interesting.
I mean, they would do a recreation of that bike, but I think Jason Statham.
It's not like you can use like a
Yeah, no,
an
Jason
XR650 and just put
Yeah.
plastics over it.
No, I think Jason Statham would be he'd be the tough guy.
Who would play Eric, the assistant who won?
Pee Wee Herman, perhaps.
No.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming out and joining us today.
Honored.
And especially thanks to our Patreon subscribers.
Yes.
You guys are the best, keeping us afloat, keeping it going. Really appreciate it. You guys are special. I'd like to see pictures of you guys in your T-shirts. Send me a picture of you in your shirt out on an adventure, and I'll share it on our social media. That's it.
That is it.
But there are more shirts available that anyone is welcome to buy. I shipped one out this week. You can go to motorcyclesandmisfits.com, click on shop, and you can find a T-shirt and order it up.
And you can send us a picture of you wearing your shirt and nothing else if the shirt is long enough. I don't want to see any pictures with your junk hanging out the bottom.
And Emma would love to see your ass tattoos.
You said you didn't want to bring it up.
I didn't want to see yours. I want to see theirs. So, just like you wanted, what was the last one you wanted pictures of their pussy cats? I want to see pictures of your ass tattoos, and I will just forward them to Emma's work email. Thank you very much. Also, send those emails to motorcyclesandmisfits@gmail.com. Let us know what you were up to. I want to hear from you and what big events you're going to this summer.
Yes.
How about that?
I like the sound of that.
And hopefully, maybe Sparky, you'll be back east in time for Vintage Days.
I got other plans.
Dang it!
I'm sorry.
Well, there you are.
I've been a couple of times. It is fun. It is.
You summed it up perfectly today.
It's the right level of lawlessness.
Yes.
Like, everybody having fun. Nobody gets hurt.
There you go. Except for the guy who got his
Mostly.
head run over by a golf cart. But yes.
Yeah. I mean,
All right. On that note, thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Time to get out of here. This is Liza.
Emma, darling.
Sparky.
Craigzilla.
Bagel.
And we are out of here.
Cool.